Okay, for these scrub caps, we're going to take, we're going to start with 3 crafter squares. That's the easiest thing to do. If you don't have any, that's fine. Use a swaddle. You're going to start, if you use a swaddle, you're going to go 1 full 12.5 inch strip all the way across. If you've got 3 squares, you're going to go 3 squares. So the first one we're going to have this is going to be the top of this scrub cap. So we're going to fold it into 4 pieces like so. And we've got this fold here, and we've got this fold here. And all I did was I took a piece of paper and I traced a little arc here. So we're just going to set it here. Here, can we see that? Let me move this up a little bit. All right, and we're just going to trace along the arc, and we are going to have a circle, right? So here we go. That's it. That is the top of the cap. All right, easy. Your other squares, you're going to, so if you have, if you're using a swaddle, you've cut off a 12 by 12 piece for the cap, and you're going to be left with a 17 by 12 piece. That's perfect. That's all you need. If you have 2 more squares, you're going to just take one. It's folded in half, and you are going to measure from the edge 4 5/8 of an inch right here. Now, this is KicKee. It's lovely. It's stretchy, so it doesn't have to be perfect down at the bottom. 4 5/8 of an inch, so that we can, and we're going to sew it to the full square, and that way we're going to wind up with a 17-inch piece. So far, so good. Okay, so what you're going to wind up with is one circle. It's going to be roughly 12 to 12.5 inches in diameter. Let's take a look. There you go, 12.5, and one rectangular piece, which is going to be about 12 inches by 17. And there you go. And in the case of a crafter square, you'll have 2 pieces. You'll have the one square, and then you'll have the other piece that you cut just a smidge under 5 inches, so like 4 7/8. So when you seam the 2 together, they will be set at 17 inches total. Now the next thing we're going to do is we are going to gather our circles. So that's going to be the top part of the hat. And when it's done, it's going to be an oval. So you want to make the gathers on the back part of the hat a little bit tighter, and the ones on the front part a little bit looser. So we're going to go over to the sewing machine next, and I'll show you that. Okay, so you're going to take your circle, you're going to fold it in half and flip it over, decide what your back half is. I'm going to start right here. So we want to go about 1.5 inches below the fold, which will be our back half. It really won't be a full half for the back. And I'm just going to use my finger for a measurement from the tip of my finger to my second joint, and that's where I'm going to start my gather. So about 1.5 inches back from the center. Now I have a gathering foot. If you have one, use it. If you don't, you can just use a basting stitch, and then you can pull your gathers. I have my machine set at a 4 for my gathering, and I'm going to just kind of go around, and we're going to gather this up. And then I'm going to stop again at about 1.5 inches from the center, so a little bit more. So that's where this gather is going to end. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect because you're going to be sewing it to the top of the machine anyway, but here you can sort of see how that's starting to gather. This is actually going to wind up to be an oval shape. Now, I do the next part of my gather on my serger because it doesn't gather quite as tightly. It's really fast, but again, you don't need a serger. You can just use, or gathering foot, you can just use the basting stitch, but you do want the back gathers to be tighter than the front. So I'm going to go ahead and gather the front, and then I'll show you the finished. Okay, I'm going to set this in the serger, and I'm going to set it right there where I finished the back gathers to kind of get going. And I'm just going to go right around and gather it all up. Okay, and I'm going to end right where I had the gathers that I started on my other machine. So it's a little bit forward there. Okay, and so you see we've got all these gathers here around the front and the tighter gathers around the back. And this is sort of how it looks. It's a bit of an oval shape. It's no longer a perfect circle. And that's what you're going for over there. Okay, so the next step here, I'm terrible with videos, great with sewing. So we've got our long rectangular piece. It's 17 inches by 12.5. We're going to fold it together. We're going to fold it together the long way. So let's see if you can kind of see that. So the 12.5 is from top to bottom, and this direction here would have been your 17.5. We just folded it in half, and we're going to serge right down this seam right here. Okay, we're going to serge this here together. If you don't have a serger, that's fine. Use your straight stitcher. Just use a zigzag stitch so that you can maintain the stretch. That would be important. All right, so kind of have this long cylinder. We're just gonna flip it inside out, like for those of you who are used to doing footy cuffs, right, or any kind of cuffs, you're just folding it in half and you're going to have a giant cuff here. All right, that's all we're going to do. And then we're going to just pin it together with our clips here so that we can make sure that we keep the edges together, right, when we serge it to the cap. And again, when I'm going to serge it to the cap, but the top part of the cap, if you don't have a serger, use your straight stitcher and just use a zigzag stitch. It'll be fine. Okay, so here we have our cuff. Here is the seamed end right here. Here you go. All right, that's going to be the back of the cap. That's important for how you're going to place the top on, and also if you've got a pattern, you want to make sure you're doing that. And I just put a clip right here, so this sort of marks my center, because we're going to want to center the top part of the cap in when we serge it. And I've already pinned the cap the same way. So this is the back part, so it's got the tighter gathers, and that's going to be stitched to the back seam here. Again, that's important because that's the piece that's going to gather all your hair and everything else. And I've sort of also put a clip here to mark the center here. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to tuck it right inside of the cuff and pin it all together, and I'll show you that. Okay, so we have it all pinned together. It's kind of hard now to hold this iPad and show you at the same time, but you see this is your cuff here, and I've got the hat pinned inside we've got our right sides together here. So the right side of the cap is the part that you're pinning. You want to make sure you gather, you make a clip here at your back center and then at your front center. Okay. And then you're going to stretch the cuff because the cuff is going to be smaller than your cap. That's okay. You want it to be because you need extra room in your cap. So you're going to stretch your cuff so that it sort of fits, and you're going to clip here just to kind of hold it together as you stitch through. I'm going to stitch it through right now. When I stitch, I'm going to have the cuff is going to be right here. That's going to be on the bottom, hitting my feed dogs, and I will gather this top part underneath the top of the presser foot. So we'll sneak it in here and make sure that all the edges are together and go. So we've got the pin in here, and we're going to just keep stretching the cuff as we hold that cap in place. Don't worry if you search through your gathers. They're really more for convenience and marking of the cap than anything. It'd be really hard to do the stretching the right way if you didn't have some gathers in there in advance. Although it could be done, because I did it when I decided that that was not a very good way to get things accomplished in a quick, consistent manner. Okay, so here you go. We've got this all sewn together. We'll turn it inside out. And we have our cap. And I'll show you one more thing. That's just how we put it on. It's pretty easy. This one is actually staying here. So just gonna, if I had my hair in a ponytail, that would be helpful, but I don't. So, but if I did, we just kind of throw your ponytail right inside. I can shove it up in here pretty good. And there you go. And it kind of all hangs pretty nicely over here. It fits pretty tight. And let me show you something. See this giant cone? Right. I'm going to stick it right up inside the cap. So you can kind of see that. There is enough room in this cap. It's KicKee, it's stretchy. And because we've got this tight around here, it's not going to fall off. You could stick your cell phone in here, half pint, I don't know, whatever. It's tough these days at work, right? So there you go. Tutorial. Bye.